Alright, I cut all of that info from the Wastelands, I recorded the videos, now I just gotta send them to be uploaded and... Howdy, hi friend. Who? Name's Amelia Airheart, independent private investigator from the plane of Ravnica. I'm here to look into the criminal activities of the woman running this circus in relation to the murders at Markov Manor. And before you ask, no, I ain't that one. It's spelled differently. Airheart? You mean like, oh, dang, you're good. I know, may I come in? Sure. So I take it by the top hat and audacious outfit, you're... Lucy, eh? No last name given? Last names are overrated. But yep, that's me. I'll be brief, Miss No Name. You're under suspicion of the murders that occurred an indeterminate amount of time in the past. Give me one good reason not to call in a swarm of Azorius law mages and shut this whole place down. Well, wait a minute. An indeterminate amount of time? Yes, that's correct. Oh, I have an alibi then. I was out getting details on the new spells from the Wastelands an indeterminate amount of time ago. The Wastelands? Can't say I'm familiar with that plane. It's not in my notebook. Well, it's not a plane so much as it's well, it's complicated. How about I play the video that I made for the audience at home, and I explain to you in the meantime. You can watch it with me if you want. Well, I suppose that's technically evidence. Very well, let's watch this silly video. Fantastic. Well, let's do it to it. Good evening, darlings and deviants. My name is Lucy, and I'm just a little loony. So the Fallout Commander set is quickly coming upon us, and seeing as how I already covered Mr. House, I kinda wanted to get ahead on the curve of the face commanders of the set. I want to show you guys a couple of cards that interact well with all of them so you can get a head start on your brewing. Today, I'm looking for cards that work well with the Wise Mothman, and let me tell you, there's plenty of those. So, without further ado, let's start the show. First off, who or what is the Wise Mothman? Lore-wise, he's a religious figure for the enlightened, a cult in the Appalachian Wasteland. There's a lot of mystery and curiosity behind the Mothman and his cult, but luckily for you guys, I was able to get a good look at him. So what's he do? Well, for 1, a black, a green, and a blue, you get a 3/3 legendary insect mutant with flying, and whenever the Wise Mothman enters the battlefield or attacks, each player gets a rad counter. We all know what a rad counter is, right? No? Ah, geez. Well, let me pull up my Pip-Boy here. Ah, here we go. Rad counters are counters that players get, and at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, if you have any rad counters, mill that many cards. For each non-land card milled this way, you lose 1 life and you lose a rad counter. So if you have 3 rad counters and you mill 2 non-land cards, you lose 2 life and remove 2 rad counters. So 1 counter isn't too bad, but it can get out of hand very quickly. While we still don't know all the ways the radiation can infect planeswalkers, be careful, especially because the second ability on the Wise Mothman reads, whenever 1 or more non-land cards are milled, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to X target creatures, where X is the number of non-land cards milled this way. You were near radioactive monsters? Weren't you worried about your health? Oh, I'm a cartoon character. If I get sick or hurt, it's mainly for plot-related reasons. Or if it's funny. Ah, I see. Wait, what? The Wise Mothman grows your creatures, mutates them with additional counters, and your opponents struggle to stay healthy and keep their cards in their library. So obviously we want everyone to get super irradiated. While I'm sure there's going to be some other cards revealed that work with the Mothman and make everyone need a metric pound of Radex, let's get as much proliferation going as we can. There's a bunch of ways to proliferate, but some of my favorites are Evolution Sage, which deals with lands. Since we're in green, we want to do lots of land shenanigans. Flux Channeler, which proliferates based on non-creature spells, which blue likes non-creature spells, and Sword of Truth and Justice, which is just a really good proliferation equipment card. All repeatable proliferation effects that can get out of hand very quickly. Spells like Ripples of Potential, Tezzeret's Gambit, and Unnatural Restoration all work to keep the radiation going, buff or protect our creatures, and keep our card advantage going, all after Mothman's ability has resolved. So, our opponents are puking up their guts and growing additional limbs. How do we profit from this? As always, I have a few tricks up my sleeve. While the Haunted Hightower and Vulture's Zombie both get counters from cards getting put into our opponent's graveyard from anywhere, Clanner of the Grim and Bloodchief Ascension both work to hurt our opponents for each creature that hits the graveyard. So here's the thing. This is a huge non-bow alert. While this card sounds like it would work really well for a deck like this, by the rules as they're written, we're not entirely sure. We need to wait for the official release. But as it stands now, I've talked to a couple of judges and they say that this doesn't work and it completely shuts off your deck. So cards like Dothy Voidwalker sound great. You get to steal all of the cards that your opponents start milling, and you can cast one of them later. Yeah, except that means that they're not milling, and you're not triggering the myriad of other benefits you might want to be using with your mill effects. Plus, exiling graveyards might not be the best thing. After all, if we're milling cards, we might want to do something else with those cards. For instance, let's raise the dead. Radiation can do that, right? That's what a ghoul is, I'm pretty sure. And besides, we already know this deck will have death claws in it, so let's make our opponents deal with a bunch of them. Dread Return, Animate Dead, and Reanimate are all obvious inclusions, but there's one that I don't think a lot of people are looking at. Personally, this card is pretty good in most black decks, so I think we should give it a look. It's a Vat of Rebirth. For just 1 black mana, that's it, just 1 black, you get an artifact. Okay, it doesn't do anything on its own, but bear with me. Whenever an artifact or creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, note, this includes tokens, both creature tokens and treasure tokens, you put a counter on it. Then you can pay 2 and a black to tap it to bring a creature card back to the graveyard. Oh, and then you sacrifice it, right? No. And there's no limit to the counters, so you can keep proliferating the counters, getting more value off of your creatures or artifacts dying, and making it so your big monsters are never gone for long. Then of course we have Breach the Multiverse. I'm not quite certain on Mothman and Phyrexian relations, but hey, this card's bonkers, so in the deck it goes. For 5 and 2 black, you get a sorcery that mills everyone for 10, then it lets you pluck a creature, or a planeswalker if you want, from everyone's graveyards and slap them onto the battlefield. They're Phyrexians too, but I'm sure that won't be a problem. There's a bunch of other ways to make the dead serve at our side. If you have a favorite that I missed, be sure to drop it into the comments below. Comments? But ain't this— shh, this is the best part! So, normally this would be where I start wrapping the video up. We've already gone through a bunch of different stuff that the deck can do, and a bunch of different, ways that you can focus in on the deck, but I would be doing you all a big disservice if I didn't mention the fact that the Wise Mothman also happens to be uniquely equipped to handle 3 different companions. That's right, one of the most massive mistakes of a mechanic that moved into Magic in modern memory is marvelous for the Mothman. Try saying that 3 times fast. The 3 companions that you can conceivably pair with the Mothman, in order of least to most restrictive in terms of deck building, are Karuga the Macro Sage, Umori the Collector, and Garuda, Doom of the Depths. Karuga only needs each of your non-land cards to have a converted mana cost of 3 or greater. Umori needs every non-land card in your deck to share a card type. Note this doesn't include itself, so it could technically be a companion in an all-enchantment deck, for instance, but in this case it would be an entire creature-based deck, and Garuda needs each card to be even. Each of these big, massive monsters offers a different benefit and a fun, interesting way to play with the Mothman. If you build this deck and want to shake it up a bit, try building with one of these extra friends in the command zone. Always a fun time to play with 101 cards in Commander. So, how was that, Miss Investigator? I still have my suspicions. I'll be sticking around until I find any and all of the evidence I may have missed. Go on, dismiss your audience so I can get to work. Aw, man. Well, that's all I know about the Wise Mothman, everyone. This card looks super cool and I can't wait to tinker with it and brew something pretty sweet. Or, well, sick given all of the radiation. If you enjoyed this video, check out this video I did on another one of the Wastelands inhabitants, Mr. House. As always, thank you all so very much for watching, and until next time, au revoir!